Welcome back to MVM. Today we're going to be taking a look at Hippocrates. This is a 1 to 4 player Euro game of what I like to call conditional drafting. This one's from Game Brewer, and you'll understand a little bit more what I mean by that when I get to the game rundown. But Hippocrates is a game, of course, themed around the early pursuit of medicine. It's ancient Greece, and Hippocrates leads the way. Players will each try to follow his example as best they can, building teams of doctors, seeing as many patients as they can, and treating them as efficiently as possible. And it has some impressive components and artwork, as you can see right here. It has quite a table presence, and I'm not even sure you're able to see everything in this overhead shot. But do keep in mind that this is a prototype and doesn't necessarily represent the final production of the game. And before I give you a rundown of the rounds and the phases of the game, let's take a look at the pieces and the parts. On the lower portion of the board are all the patients. There are 72 different patients in all, but they're divided into 6 regions with 12 patients coming specifically from each one. A patient tile will have their name and reference number, the offering they'll give you, the combination of medicine required to treat them, and of course the victory points they provide once treated. During the game, you'll be taking some of those patients and placing them on your player board here in your examination room. But if left untreated round to round, they'll move down to the emergency room and then potentially pass away without treatment, doomed to walk the halls of Hades. And as sad as that sounds, the real tragedy is that you're going to lose victory points at the end of the game, so make sure to treat your patients. And to do that, you're going to need doctors and medicine. You'll find these on the top part of the main board, with doctors from the different regions, medicine kits, along with some knowledge tiles. If you take a look at a doctor tile, you'll see their name and reference number, their hiring cost, the medicine they're capable of administering, and the victory points you'll receive once they've fulfilled all their contracts. Just above the doctors is the reputation track, and above the patients is the welcome track. Other than that, there's a general supply of drachma and medicine, and each player will get a player board and their starting components. The game is played over 4 rounds, and each round has 5 phases. The first phase is called the kallosarisma, or the welcome phase, and this is going to be where you welcome patients into your examination room and potentially take assistance to, well, assist you. The welcome track is made up of 2 rows and will dictate player order for this phase. As all player turns are taken, the active player order will effectively alternate between these rows. The player furthest left on the current row of the welcome track rolls the dice and places them accordingly. There will always be 1 die in one of the 3 levels of each region. Then, starting with that player and proceeding to the right on the track, everyone may welcome a patient. To do this, they move their welcome marker to any open space of the other row and above any one column of patients. Then, they can simply draft the patient tile that is next to the die in that region. And this is the first example of that conditional drafting I was talking about. Because not only do you have to pay attention to the open spaces that are available, meaning the later you are in turn order, the fewer choices you're going to have, but you also have to pay attention to the position of the dice in each region. And this is where those assistants come into play. There are 3 different assistants, and having their corresponding token on your player board means that you have access to them. One lets you move a die horizontally to any other region. Another lets you do the same, but vertically in the same region. And the last one actually allows the player to draft the face-up patient on the stack at the bottom of their chosen region. As you can imagine, this provides some much-wanted flexibility with your options, but it's not unlimited. Once you use an assistant, the token is moved off of your player board. To get that assistant back into service, all you have to do is welcome patients on your turn from one of the corresponding regions to get them back on your board. And no matter which patients you welcome, you must also take any rewards or penalties listed below the patient you took. These range from victory points, medicines, drachma, and reputation. Once each player has taken a turn, the new first player is going to roll the dice so everyone can take a second turn, and then again for a third turn. So as you can see, as you move from row to row on that welcome track, the turn order is going to change with every turn of this phase. And also note that throughout this phase, there will be fewer and fewer patients available. There may be a time when you must select a spot with no patient, in which case you'll take a specified amount of drachma. And once every player has taken 3 turns, that's going to wrap up this phase. But first, everyone's going to collect the offerings on all of their new patients, which are the drachma listed on the tiles. Phase 2 is Miss Theodosia, or the payment phase, and all the doctors you employ must be paid. In the first round, everyone will only be paying their starting doctor, but no matter how many doctors you have, each one requires payment according to your position on the reputation track. This is here at the top of the board, and depending on your position on the track, you're going to be paying each doctor 1 to 5 drachma. The higher you are on the reputation track, the less you have to pay each doctor. The next phase is Stelehosis, or the recruit phase. The reputation track will determine player order now, and starting with the highest reputation, each player will first choose whether they want to option one of the region-free doctors across the top of the board. To do this, the player pays 2 drachma and places their option token on any of the 4 available doctors across the top of the board. This is kind of a down payment towards their potential hiring of that doctor. More on that in a minute. After everyone has had the chance to option one of these doctors, it's time to hire doctors and purchase medicine kits. First, all the regional doctors will be revealed. Then, again in reputation track order, each player takes their turn and chooses one of 4 options. They can hire a regional doctor, they can purchase a medicine kit, or they can buy a bundle of both the doctor and the medicine kit from a single region, which will also grant them the knowledge tile. Players also have the option to simply pass. No matter what option they choose though, in addition, they may also hire the doctor that they might have just optioned. This is one of the only ways to get 2 doctors in any given round. Now, the conditional aspect to the drafting up here is this. If you want to hire one of the regional doctors, the medicine kit in that region must still be available. And likewise, to purchase a medicine kit, the doctor from that region must still be there. So in other words, taking one or the other will completely close off that region for the other players during this phase. And this is why you might want to option one of those doctors while you have the chance, especially if you're lower on the reputation track. After the recruitment area is reset, it's time for phase 4, which is Therapia, or treatment. This is where you'll assign patients to one or more doctors you employ in order to get them treated. As I mentioned earlier, each patient requires a specific combination of medicines, so hopefully your doctors are capable of administering those medicines. Each doctor has 1 to 3 nodes on their tile that represent the number of their contracts, or in other words, the number of patients they want to ultimately treat. During this phase, players will place these tiles in their play area, making the necessary connections and administering the needed medicine. For example, these doctors can work with these types of medicines, so they can treat this patient, but only if you have enough of those medicines in your personal supply. Any patients that can't be fully treated are left in your examination room for now. And keep in mind that you can buy and sell medicine at any time, but the economy for doing so is not exactly in your favor. And finally, it's time for Vathmologesis, when you score. Each player will first manage any untreated patients on their player board. Any that are in your emergency room are lost to Hades, and those in your examination room move to the ER. You will gain 1 reputation for each patient that you treated this round though. Discharge those patients by taking the victory points on their tile and flipping them face down, which also indicates that this doctor has fulfilled that particular contract. If a doctor has fulfilled all of their contracts, then take the victory points on their tile and remove it from the game, along with any connected patients that are not also connected to a doctor with other open contracts. And those are the 5 phases for each round. And remember, there are only 4 rounds, so you're going to be doing all of that 3 more times before ending the game. At the end, players have the opportunity to treat remaining patients in their ER without requiring a doctor. You'll get no victory points for this, but you will keep them from passing on to Hades, which is good because remember, you'll then lose 3 victory points for each patient lost throughout the game. And that's a pretty detailed explanation of what this game is all about. Beautiful components, a massive table presence, that conditional drafting, and I can't overstate how satisfying it feels when you're piecing together the doctor and the patient tiles. Not only does it scratch that puzzly Euro itch, but this tactile solution they've come up with to check off what you need to do is really quite smart. Be sure to check out their campaign for more information, but if you have any questions at all, please make them in the comments below and we will try our best to answer them. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and thanks again for watching. Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.